Hello, welcome to Maison Otaku. Come in, have a seat.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And we're here to talk to you about anime.
We have a special treat for you. 2 Halloween episodes this October.
Yes, completely intentionally.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not at all retconned.
So, welcome to the show. Good show lined up for you today. But, first off, oh boy, yeah. Score's a great topic.
Yes. So actually I want to start off with one of my many unpopular opinions. Now, this is totally me. Justin does not necessarily share this opinion, but I'm going to put it out there. Bastard is better than Berserk.
Yeah, you can kind of see that from some folks. Bastard is actually what I picked up. Specifically, I was able to find volume 9 of Bastard. This is a tricky series to find, by the way.
And as we're paging through this, I'm kind of starting to realize, man, I knew there was a reason I liked this.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, first off, anime-wise, there's a 2-episode OAV?
No, I think it's a 6.
6?
Something like that.
Short OAV.
Mine came with an action figure, that's all I remember.
Yeah. That doesn't really capture the entirety of the spirit of the thing. But if you could picture Berserk with humor and heavy metal references, you can get into Bastard. Especially if you can then filter it through the sort of character design that's, shall we say, torpedo-like.
Yes. Yeah, there are boobs and butts throughout the entirety of it, not necessarily all female. I mean, Dark Schneider has some magnificent tits, let's be honest.
Yeah, Hagawara, the creator, majorly into drawing bodies, and very much that huge pec, broad-shouldered male body.
Well, you can tell his exaggerated anatomy comes from an understanding of actual anatomy.
Right, and there's a lot of sexual humor, like a ton of references actually to heavy metal. I mean,
not even very subtle.
Yeah, a lot of it not even subtle. I mean, in this particular volume, there's a sorcerer named Ba Thori.
Yes.
There's one of the characters actually uses an attack called jet-to-jet uppercut. So, yeah, it's right along those lines. But if you like that sort of thing, and we do, you'll love Bastard. And you're going to be willing to do this huge amount of legwork to try and find the damn thing.
Yeah, I think this is the only one I've ever physically seen. This is volume, what, 19?
Yeah, volume 19.
I just assumed I had no idea what was going on because it was Bastard.
Yeah, you don't worry. Even if you own the other 18 volumes of this, you wouldn't know what's going on. The Bastard also really fits in very well with kind of the spirit of what we're talking about today.
Oh yeah. So, last week we brought you the amazingness that is Go Nagai. This time we're going to talk about, there's a bit of overlap, but something that's not necessarily so amazing, but still very interesting to talk about.
Yes. This week we're going to talk trope. We're going to talk structure. We're going to discuss a recurring theme that old Nagai-san was very much involved with. So stick with us. We're just dealing with whatever shows up this week. So what we're talking about is actually the Monster of the Week structure.
Now, I said it's interesting, and it is. Stick with us on that.
If you're not totally hip to the lingo,
if you literally live under a rock, a Monster of the Week show is literally what it says. we have a hero, and every new episode, aka every week, which is usually how it's run, a new monster shows up and our heroes fight said monster, and generally speaking it's very formulaic. Everything's kind of wrapped up within the episode, and often but not always each episode follows the exact same formula and story beats.
Yes. This is a very, very, very common and very, very old setup for shows. It's been around a while. It's not necessarily even unique to anime. I mean, let's face it, those of us who know Scooby-Doo know.
Yes. It's Scooby-Doo, very much Monster of the Week type deal.
And it's also not unique to animation, because we see this in Super Sentai shows.
Yeah, you know, your Power Rangers, your VR Troopers, your big bad Beetleborgs.
Yeah. And admittedly, this is also what we see in most episodic shows that don't have a character growth undercurrent to them, where character arrives, character is faced with puzzle is solved by character, fade to black, reset. When you constantly break it down and take it to its elements, then you can apply it more and more universally.
Yeah.
But we're taking it a little bit more literally, because even when you take it very literally, it's still repeated ad infinitum.
Yeah. And that's the thing we want to say. Generally speaking, even when done right, this is a very lazy route to go in storytelling. It's almost, I don't want to quite use the word cop-out, but it's almost that.
Cop-out's actually a pretty fair one, because this doesn't require a whole lot of investment.
I mean, it's the writing equivalent of Mad Libs. What's your main character? Who are they fighting against? What kind of monsters do they send out? Fill those in. That's your story for the entire 52 episodes or however long the show is.
And there are some shows that really did terrible things, but there are shows that did some really excellent things within this framework as well. We don't want to take away from that. As a matter of fact, we're going to be telling you exactly how you can take this formula, this template, and make something worthwhile out of it, something interesting.
Yep. You just have to try. So, you might be wondering, well, if this thing is such an innately terrible thing, how can someone do it good? And I do want to emphasize that there are some, when you don't bother, you do get some horribly boring things. One example I like to bring up, an utterly forgettable series called Zenki. This half-assed magical girl is linked with this demon. She unlocks his powers. The demon fights monsters. Ties up at the end. Exact same thing every single episode. I was so freaking bored by it that there's one episode that breaks that just to do a slice-of-lifey character interaction episode that I absolutely loved compared to the rest of it because it was something different.
Now, a good thing to point out is the magical girl genre is rife with this problem.
Oh, goody. Does this mean we get to piss off Cardcaptor Sakura fangirls again?
Not so much, because Cardcaptor Sakura actually avoids this damn thing.
Mostly.
But that comes down to, you can use the formula if you don't use the formula, which is one way of avoiding it. Or you can run headlong into it.
Well, Sailor Moon actually kind of did this okay.
Yeah, with Sailor Moon, the monsters had a personality, generally. They had a unique design, generally. And they were part of an overarching strategy from other characters whom we encountered throughout the show, whose motivations grew or became more defined, less vague.
Granted, the reasons for the monster might be kind of BS'd, which a lot of the logic in Sailor Moon is.
You see, Titus, using this romance cruise, we will steal all the energy from these things the humans have called relationships.
That makes no sense, Haru.
Shut up, Titus.
But there was a point to them. They just didn't just show up, and they are usually tied in with whatever's going on.
It wasn't simply our hero or heroine arrives in a place and there's a monster they have to deal with, which I think we could be more succinct in pointing out. That's what Inuyasha did.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Inuyasha. Very brief sidebar. Inuyasha, Takahashi took her usual things and threw them all away and decided to do a shonen-esque monster of the week kind of sort of fantasy. Not really. It's a mess.
It was a mess of a show, but it got trapped so quickly in, well, they have to encounter a new demon and take its shard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to encounter a new demon and take its shard. That cycle of they arrive in a town and there's a demon, and it was just so blatantly obvious that they were just treading water until there was more material to work with.
Yep. Now, since we're, being critical of things at this moment, we kind of have to take back that point we just gave Sailor Moon, because they follow the other rule that so many of these shows follow. The monsters are defeated not only in a typical pattern of they don't use their ultimate attack until the end of the episode because it would be over too quickly, but they defeat each and every one of them with the same recycled animation.
Yes.
Every time.
The formulaic approach, and here's where we encounter the monster, and here's where we learn what the monster's after, and here's where we transform, and here's where we kill the monster. That is terrible.
Yep. Oh, you forgot the middle step where they try their less effective attacks knowing they're less effective, and they utterly fail just so you can use up 5 minutes of screen time.
Oh, absolutely. And
like, seriously, Mercury, I feel so bad for you.
And why? Because we have to make the show longer.
Yes.
We have to make the episode longer. And it's extraordinarily irritating because that's time that could be spent with the character telling us more about themselves, with the enemy telling us more about themselves. Or at least change it up a bit. When you get trapped into not only the same attacks, but the same animation. And of course, all of this is to make it more inexpensive to produce.
As we discussed, in the 90s, a lot of those budgets went away, so they had to think of new and exciting ways to make anime cheaper.
And this isn't just to throw that one at the girls, because we'll even admit Fist of the North Star did that a ton too.
Well, I mean, one of my favorites that does that too, it's like freaking Ronin Warriors. The first episode, it's like they're getting their butts handed to them by Johnny Q Dynasty Soldier. That's like if in the first episode of the Power Rangers they were getting their butts kicked by a single putty.
Right. To say nothing of, again, if we're brutally honest, the more different enemies you can create, the more action figures of said enemies you can sell.
There is some of that.
And
which is another thing Ronin Warriors did, although those toys were awesome, so we don't fault them for it.
Right. And again, we're going to take something away from our great subject of the previous episode. Nagai-san.
Yeah.
Nagai is amazing at drawing and creating new and exciting enemies. But they're all still just big, shouty monsters.
Yes, they are all big, shouty monsters. It's like, okay, take this part, put this part onto something over here, smush. Oh, here's my new monster. And, we need to have an honest moment here, especially when it comes to the original 70s TV series of Mazinger Z and Getter Robo, the source material is awesome.
Yes.
The spin-offs and sequels are varying degrees of good. But if we're being completely honest here,
Not great TV.
yeah, the original 70s TV series, they're really just a whole lot of boring and mediocre, and just so happen to have, like, a handful of really good, really amazing episodes in there amidst a sea of mediocrity.
Yes, there are episodes that make your jaw drop, make your heart soar, but there's a handful of those, and then there's a whole bunch of... It's 22 minutes into the episode, time for Rocket Punch.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, well, there's a reason that the so-called crab stick subs of Mazinger Z are so popular, because that definitely makes it more interesting.
Yes. And, again, when we boil it down to many of the responsible reasons for doing this, saving money, creating a long enough show to be syndicated for additional income from reruns, even getting down to, as I said, more characters on screen for more action figures to sell. These are all reasonable reasons for doing this.
Also, the unique problem those shows had where, you know, the TV animation companies didn't necessarily want to try and, you know, make an adaptation of Nagai's insane stories.
But all this led up to a very samey, very problematic product that now has been almost internalized. You can almost see when a show is about to take that turn and just do that for a little while because they're completely out of other ideas, like Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kid you not, even Kenshin went through a great phase of, it's just some other samurai. It's just some other samurai. It's just some other samurai. Slightly different sword-wielding guy. He's probably a samurai. Annoying as hell, because we don't even get any time with the characters apart from dealing with for them to grow and adapt and create.
Yep. But we've had some successes, and we're going to talk about some of those right now. So now we're, as I said, going to talk about some of the ones that actually took this trope far beyond what it was ever intended to be.
Yeah, because this did succeed. I mean,
well, as
it's not hard for it to succeed. It just takes a little bit of above and beyond.
Yes. And, going along with above and beyond, that's one of the things, I very much like about Ronin Warriors. Less a Monster of the Week show as it is a Sentai show, but definitely there's some overlap there. But again, it took it above and beyond the usual, color-coded superhero show and actually made, a riveting drama.
On the other hand, quite frankly, those color-coded superhero shows by Tatsunoko of the 60s and 70s used this formula extensively,
yes.
But used it in an amazing fashion, creating very vivid villains, very exciting scenarios.
Honestly, and I think with Tatsunoko, it's down to they knew what talent to throw at it. Yoshitaka Amano designs on damn near everything. Okay, that right there is going to win you some credit.
Absolutely. And they also realize you do space it out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't cramp up the story. If you give a monster enough time to be a threat and then deal with him, it gives it a little bit more weight, a little bit more to chew on, so to speak. Dramatic tension. I think this is something that Fist of the North Star did very, very well, in that those big bads were there for 2 or 3 episodes, looming over the proceedings.
Well, and again, it's down to their threats. Like, even if we know, or at least we're pretty sure that Ken's going to win because, well, he's the hero, they still have a good chance of taking him out.
And that's one of those really, really great things when a writer and a director and an artist are all able to focus in and make those changes to escape the formula just enough where you're still getting what you came after, getting the fun of these shows, because it is a fun formula, if we're honest.
Yeah. Well, it can be anyway. But, getting onto that, there's one in particular I really want to talk to you about, largely because I've been looking for an excuse to talk to you about this, and I didn't want to just blow it on a recommendation.
Mike's been so thoroughly hung up, so finally we kind of worked it in.
So, this one actually breaks almost all of the rules of this trope, but still very much remains a sort of monster of the week type show. And that is Bio Booster Armor Guyver.
Or just the Guyver.
Not to be confused with MacGyver, because I know that sounds like a stupid pun, but believe me, I've had that conversation.
Although if we consider mechanical puzzles monsters, MacGyver.
Yeah, MacGyver is very monster of the week, actually, in that respect, yeah. Back to the plot. First and foremost, the monsters are threats. Even when our hero gets to the point where your generic baddies aren't a threat, well, here's this new ridiculous thing that it's nothing short of a miracle he even survived the fight.
And on top of that, he has to figure out what of his attacks, what of his approach is actually going to work with the monster.
Yes.
It's not just an assured victory. Well, you do this, and it happens.
And that's also where it breaks one of the other rules. As we said, in so many of these other series, we're shouting at the screen, use your ultimate attack, it's the only thing that works. Here, there are plot reasons that actually make sense why he just doesn't spam his ultimate attack. You know, he opens his chest and it's the very creatively named Mega Smasher, but it's still awesome. Yet you have the issue of recharge time, which they really only hint at, but you really don't need to explain that to any degree. But more importantly, there's massive collateral damage involved. You know, there's an episode where these overpowered, the monsters are called zoonoids, these overpowered zoonoids are attacking his school and they're kicking his butt, and he can't deploy his Mega Smasher because, well, they're in front of the school and if I use it, I will liquefy all of my classmates.
Yeah. When you couple that to an amazing H.R. Giger copy art style, when you copy that to, when you approach that the lead character is a very exciting lead character you want to see in these scenarios.
Well, not to mention a very engaging, almost anti-hero at first.
Guyver uses the formula as a backbone, as a spine, that it can hang all the meat upon.
Yes, and that meat is, you know, story-driven character development. Interesting characters to begin with, as we said. An actual continuous story.
All happening around exciting, unique action. That's how you make a Monster of the Week show.
Yep.
Alright, so we hope that really did liven things up and enlighten you a little bit regarding Monsters of the Week. But now, we're going to enlighten you to a classic anime. So Mike, your recommendation this week, that's a big title.
Yeah, although, to be perfectly honest, it came to our minds because we were bullshitting about some observations of a desktop background of mine. I want to address something before I get to my recommendation. Again, an artistic observation. I noticed with Rumiko Takahashi's classic works anyway, in both the manga and whatever TV series we get, a lot of the girls and the characters in general are relatively, you know, we're not including Happo-sai and people like that, but are relatively realistically proportioned.
Right. Rumiko tends to draw real people, and a mix of real people, you know. I mean, she has stocky old people, skinny guys. I mean, just look at the entire cast of Urusei Yatsura.
Oh yeah, all over the place. But for whatever reason, especially when we're talking Ranma, and primarily with Ranma, In the movies and OVAs, the girls' proportions are cranked up to 11.
And yet we're recommending...
Yeah. Recommending, once again... screw it, it's a fun movie. Ranma 1/2, Ni Hao My Concubine.
Yes. Where to begin?
I
mean, the plot's unimportant.
Yeah, the plot really isn't important. They literally made this movie banking on, okay, well, it's a Ranma movie, so all the chicks are extra curvy, and let's just build a plot around forcing them all into skimpy outfits for the majority of it. That'll fill some seats.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, we had to look up the plot of this movie because we remember we like it.
Yeah.
But we both saw it around when we were in high school, and I'm thoroughly convinced, we just remember liking it because we were adolescent males and it was filled with half-naked hot chicks.
That
really
has to be it. But, I mean, when you look over it in retrospect, perky soundtrack, animated quite well.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun adventure, like a type of adventure you don't get in the regular series anyway. The movie has a purpose for being a movie.
Yes. They definitely do something with the more running time. There's a lot more jokes. They play a lot more on the personalities of the characters. Akane is really front and center in this one. Which is
for better or worse.
I mean, granted, I was always more of a Shampoo fan.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Akane being front and center depends on how much you like Akane, because God, some of my friends back in the day freaking hated her.
It's so funny when you get to look back and you can remember the folks in your group that you're like, oh, I hated her, I hated it. Go ahead, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Reflect on when you were saying, if I could just reach into the screen and strangle them.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that, now we're looking back on 10 years and the names Usagi and Miyaka come up a hell of a lot.
Yes.
So, there's that. But that's really what made Ni Hao My Concubine a lot of fun was, you had Akane at the front and center. All the girls...
Yeah, all the girls are involved
up.
in the same thing, which, of course, for a Takahashi series always means shit's going down.
Yeah. That classic Rumiko Takahashi. Misunderstanding. Misdirection. Nobody talks to each other. And now everybody's pissed off and fighting and slapstick and all 9 yards.
No, I mean, one could argue that was the monster of the week of Maison Otaku.
Yeah, the monster of the week of Maison Otaku was, so, go die.
Yeah.
Did you tell her? No. Yeah, did your attempt to tell her lead to a horrible misunderstanding that means that the rest of us are going to have a shit week?
Maybe. And then on the other end, so Kyoko, did you even stop to think about why he did what he did? No. Are you just assuming he did it because he's an asshole? Maybe.
Is this going to mean that everything's miserable for us for this week?
Yeah. That is the plot of Maison Otaku.
Yeah. Oh, God, just already!
Yeah, pretty much. Especially the last season where they undo all of the character development that had happened just to stretch out the series for a few more episodes. No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, we're derailing here, but forgive us. That last season...
That was unforgivable. No, seriously. 8 seasons worth of character development completely undone just so they can get 20 more episodes. Dealing with the same bullshit we were dealing for 8 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the f***ing tournament season of Ranma Half. That was equally bullshit.
Hey, Justin, I think you left your segue back there.
I don't f***ing care. That season was bullshit.
It was. What? Oh, God.
Somebody in the comment section who's actually watching this shit, let us know if Rumiko Takahashi's latest series, Rinne,
yeah, something like that.
Let us know if that's doing the same thing. That way we can feel better knowing that future generations get to experience the same letdown of Rumiko Takahashi just getting to that point and totally running out of ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, plus at the point of the tournament episode, she's like, okay, I'm turning this into a generic shonen series now. What? This is supposed to be like martial arts themed love comedy. Come on, Takahashi, love comedy is all you really know how to do.
It doesn't seem that hard.
There's a reason for that. Back on topic.
Yeah, back on topic.
So anyway, Nihao My Concubine. It's worth an hour and a half of your life.
Absolutely. I mean, there are much worse things you could do with even half that amount of time. Like, watch a crap YouTube anime show.
And with that,
it
is time to end before we dig the hole any deeper.
Dude, it's bloody subterranean at this point.
Yeah, we'll hit rock bottom. Some asshole in the comments section will hand us a shovel.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, we hope you enjoyed our second Halloween episode for this year. From all of us here at Maison Otaku, this is Mike.
And Justin saying, enjoy what you watch.
And share what you enjoy.
Please continue enjoying Maison Otaku.
I really don't have a whole hell of a lot else going for me.
Hey. Bye.
'That was Razor Fist levels of rant.
It deserves it.
No, it does. It does. That season. Both those seasons.
Both those seasons.
things.
No, you didn't get the we're that stupid hour that I talk about stupid Japanese cartoons to stupid people. We think we're a source of information. We're not. They can get more information from a paper bag that's accidentally laid on the back of a wet ramen noodle container.
I'm sure some weeaboo has.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder what the Daily News has to say. Yeah, has to say about. Has to say about Naruto. Fill to fill line with warm water and cover.
Man, Naruto is the anime equivalent of cup noodles.
Maison Otaku, episode 37, scene 5, take 1.
Oh, man, I'm sorry, Christina, but if you're watching this, you have shit taste in anime. I'm just saying. Anyway.